Everybody, welcome to my channel, Be Free Now with Maria. So today I'm going to start out with my bag of words to see what I'm inspired to share. Let's see. All right. Ooh, passiveness. Interesting. All right, let's take out another word. Oh, panic. I feel like I got this one recently. All right, last but not least, remorse. Oh, okay. So these are really interesting. Okay. So passiveness immediately makes me think of showing up to life kind of sideways. In other words, instead of like directly addressing something, right? We try to like deal with it from the side, not be direct about it, but yet somehow try to make our voice or our point heard. But when we do that in a passive way, we don't really get our message across. We're kind of hoping that they're going to realize something or make a connection in relation to what we need or want or what frustrated us, but they won't. And that means that most people, when they experience something, they come up with their own conclusions as to why you're acting that way or why you're doing that. They don't really understand the need because they don't think like you. So they can't understand the need. The only way, right, is if we assertively state it, if we are outright about it, if we are forthcoming with whatever it is that's feeling uncomfortable to us or hurting us or feeling bad to us. And there's a fine line with that too, right? Because people are doing things just because that's what feels right to them at that time. It's not necessarily designed to make us feel some type of way. So when it does, right, part of it is for us to deal with, and then there's a piece that we have to also address externally. But when it's time to address something externally, we want to make sure that we are being authentic and honest about what that is and straightforward about it, because if we're passive about it, they aren't really going to get it. And I mean, there's a possibility, but there's also a bigger possibility that they won't get it. And instead, usually what happens is that people get defensive, when we're passive, or people feel yucky about that. In other words, and sometimes they don't make the connection, but, it triggers, right, something in somebody else. So we want to be mindful about that, because when we're not being straightforward, we can also create a lot of distress within ourselves, and a lot of distress can lead to also us feeling kind of panicky inside. In other words, our needs aren't getting met because we're not dealing with it straightforward, and too much of that, right, can leave us feeling stressed out for an extended period of time, and eventually start bringing us to a place of panic, meaning that we could start feeling so stressed out, so anxious, that we can even feel sometimes this tightness in our chest, this stress in our bodies, and this panic-like presentation within ourselves and discomfort within ourselves, because we're not addressing what we need with someone else outright, or whether we're it can also be with a situation as well, right? If we're passive about, going for that job or anything like that, again, we're not necessarily gonna get, what we want, and we're gonna leave ourselves feeling, frustrated. And of course, over prolonged periods of time, right, it can lead to us feeling so distressed that eventually it starts to accumulate into some panic-like symptoms, or we start to panic about our future and about our lives and about our relationships, when in reality, right, there's a simple solution and a simple fix to it, and that is that we have to show up more assertive, not aggressive, but assertive, and be more direct about what it is that we want. A lot of times we struggle with that because we're not able to articulate it, or we fear, that's another possibility, right? Or the other possibility is that we may fear how they're going to respond. Either way, it is for us to work through that and to journal about that or to contemplate that, reflect on it, listen to some calming music while we reflect on it, whatever works for us. But we want to take out the time to understand that part of us better, meaning that need, and explore, right, other ways that we could go about approaching something or addressing something or addressing someone so that we can meet our needs and shift from feeling this yucky like feeling, and also to reduce the chances of us having some sense of remorse for what we didn't do, for what we didn't say, and for how we didn't show up for ourselves. Because ultimately, if we're holding back and we're showing up passive, we're not showing up for ourselves, and that leaves us feeling really depleted, as well as stressed out. So we want to recognize that passiveness isn't the way. We want to approach things more straightforward. It makes things clearer for other people, and it also allows us to address what's in front of us directly, and it's a more action-oriented way of approaching a challenge or a situation that isn't working for us. So, that's what's coming to mind. And last but not least, I always like to end with something spiritual in nature. And that today for me is remembering that when we have a need, it is for our own, not only psychological development and emotional growth, but also for our spiritual growth. In other words, building up that muscle, right? That spiritual muscle that is there that needs to be addressed. Because when we are showing up passive, we're also showing up with a lack of faith in our ability to communicate, lack of faith in our ability to have our needs met, whether they're internal needs or external needs. It's a lack of faith. And so we want to expand, right, out of this limited mindset of approaching things in a linear way, and thinking of it, from a more broader sense, which is a spiritual lens in this case, and that is, right, remembering that we don't walk alone, and that if we are desiring something more that is spirit-led, it is our soul guiding us, and we want to honor that, and we want to address that as well. And didn't want to leave that out. All right, so I'm gonna end with that. I hope that this video has helped you in some way. If it did, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel so that you can be notified when I upload further videos. Have a beautiful day. Bye for now.